In our last exciting episode, the Alco diesel guy discovered that this Alco rsc2 with its custom painted shell was hopelessly beyond anything resembling repair as it was, as the frame itself had a huge chunk taken out due to an inexperienced model riveter shoving a decoder board in as hard as possible with an apparently huge blob of solder on it, which was in turn wired through two naked wires up to the decoder. He also discovered that the motor windings were at least in part unwound, which most likely led to the botched repair with the solder blob and naked wires. The big question you probably all have is, can I get this locomotive running again? Well, you have to watch to find out, but just to let you know, it doesn't quite go to plan, to put it mildly. Due to the extremely poor mechanical condition the actual underpinning/frame of the custom Alco rsc2 was in, it made it more sensible to simply look for a donor/parts locomotive to be utilized to prepare this particular unit. And that's where this particular locomotive comes in. If you remember, this is from the most recently made Will It Run video. I picked up this Kato Alco rsc2 in Santa Fe paint for a bargain basement price of just under $60 on eBay, mainly because it didn't have very good physical looks due to the railings being bent out of proportions. In addition, and unfortunately so, it also had some mechanical gremlins of its own that needed to be solved, which I was successfully able to take care of. Just before I proceeded with installing a DCC decoder on this particular locomotive, I decided to give it a more thorough teardown to make sure all was well, so there would be no further mishaps. And now, view on.
Atlas basically had Kato design their locomotives with these two screws on either side, like I'm undoing right now, and the washers and insulators, etc. Atlas took the design one way, Kato went the other way with it. Atlas still has their pickups coming out of the top of the actual engines themselves. Kato went to them coming along for the, for the motor pickups, the brush pickups, etc., the collectors. Kato, on the other hand, went to the side pickups like this, which come down from the side, hence these huge, almost teeth-like connectors that touch that. Let's go now and pull all these parts out of this. Okay, I got it. I hope I got it. Yep, I do got it. Okay, I'm going to put these contacts in a safe place. I'm going to use the top box for this to store my parts in. Because I'm not going to work on this straight through. I don't think I'm going to probably do a few other tweaks to it. I don't have time to get this done in one go, but I can slowly but surely work on it. I do have more time now with busy season being over at work, but I don't want to get myself into a situation where I have to rush through something, because that's a great recipe for causing serious damage to one of these models. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this model up completely, open the locomotive up completely, and take a good look at it, because it's been around a while, very clearly. Looks like it ran as an analog engine all of its life, and it ran with an old, as I showed you again, Rapido coupler, as you can see from this top here, and it's missing the front, so it looks like it really saw some action. Okay, here's our motor. This is what I've been working on. Let's go pull the motor out and see what it looks like underneath here. Get the gears out here. I'm going to lubricate everything. Motor comes up right. Note to self, this is the side I'm going in on this side. It needs to go in on this side, and that's the side it's going to be. Got to have the contacts up. Please note I'm opening it on this side, and in this case the parts stayed in place. It's more common with the Katos for this to work. And the reason why you want to go on this side is because it has these holding things that hold the bearings in place for the gears. If you don't put them in, if they're not on the side that you're physically pulling the parts out of, it becomes very difficult to work on the engine, to get it back together, I should say. And you have to basically tear the whole thing apart and redisassemble it and get everything so that it's like this. Because if not, these will not set up correctly. They won't square easily, and you'll never be able to get you'll never get the two frames to close on each other. Okay, let's pull this out. There we go. So two planetary worm gears are gone. Now this is gone. Now what I'm looking for here, as I've seen on previous engines, is a buildup of carbon, but you see there is none, so that's a good sign, which indicates it did actually have a good life when it was running. Its previous life, I should say, it was run pretty decently. Almost looks like this is in backwards, to be honest, because I remember it being different than this on the other one that I disassembled. That's an interesting quirk. Huh. Yeah, it looks like this is in good shape. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with my oil and just give this a zap of oil. Got my Labelle 108, slightly lighter oil, specifically designed for N scale. I'm going to go now and just go in there and just lubricate this. Actually, let me use my conductive lubricant. I'm told I can do this, and I might as well because I have it sitting right here. So why not get in there and do it right? The reason being is that if this stuff gets inside the motor, unlike regular oils that are not conductive, it won't actually cause any conductive problems. It'll just work. So I'm just going to go in there now with my little brush and just go in there and just hit it. But I may have to use I may have to do something else here. Yeah, that's not going to work right. I'll go actually in with my oil in a second. What I am going to do is go in here more thoroughly and really clean that motor compartment out. Just going to make sure I have this really well lubricated up. I would normally do this, but I'm finding out I really can't get the brush in there satisfactory to me. So I'm just going to carefully use the 108 and just go in there, because I have this set up with the proper equipment on it. Up until recently, Bachmann's Easy Lube does not come with that applicator, though the most recent version of it, I've just recently picked one of those bottles up for the clear Easy Lube. That actually comes with the needle applicator like you see me using here. This is the only areas you need to treat, just a little drop in each one, make sure it gets in there. And without this needle thing, it's very hard to get into where the bearing for the motor is and make it work accordingly. I'll let the lubricants dry a little bit on this, and I can tell already it's spinning a lot smoother. It's a huge improvement. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on my gears, worm gears and everything else. I'm going to use the 107 on this. Again, this is plastic compatible, so it shouldn't matter if you use it on other components, I'm told. I should say the conductive lubricant is plastic compatible too. In this case, I'm using it like here. Just going to put a little bit on each side and slip the bearing back on top here. That's one. Put it back in here. Good place to keep it is obviously the place where you have it, where you need it rather. Looks like this is not going to permit me to put it in like I'm used to doing. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to actually pull the motor out, it looks like, to get this back in. That is weird. I've never had that happen. Let's go and do it. There is lubricant everywhere, but it's where it needs to be, generally speaking, at least. So I'm going to go in here, carefully rotate this around until it matches the planetary assembly, and then slip it inside. Just going to round these off, and it should slip right back into place. There we go. It clicked back in. Now we're going to push this side in and pull the other side up. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Here's the other gear. Let me explain what I mean by the planetary assembly. That's these weird sort of almost like moons on the side here, if you will. They look like, I call this planetary because it looks like a few planets in orbit. This unusual assembly is what grabs these teeth, grab hold of what's inside the worm gear right here, and allow this, if you see the slots cut right into it, and allow the gear to actually spin. Going to go doing what I did with the last one again and put this on. There we go. I put this back in place. The planetary gears are aligned. Hooray. Piece of crap. Okay, get this thing in there. Ah! Whew. Okay, so that's in place. The motor brushes are exposed, as they should be. Okay. So I now have this thing all lubed up in one way. Now I've got to handle one other item. Lubrication. I need to put some grease on the gears. I find that you don't need much. Just a teeny tiny little dot will do. The factory often didn't bother, but I find it does help the life of these gears from my experiences. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here, not much. If I can get some to come out. There we go. That's actually good enough right there. That's good. For a change, that isn't too much. You just ever so slight amount. where it almost doesn't make a difference, but it will make a difference in the lives of these engines. Okay. And I'm now ready to put this thing back together. I'm going to let it sit after I get this done so the lubricants can dry into position. I put the 2 insulators back in place on either side. Let's go grab the top, which I have sitting over here, and just place that over it. Just lock it into place. Here we go. Press it down firmly. And there it is. I'll go clean out. Now I'm going to go and clean these areas here with the conductive lubricant before I lock anything down permanently, because I want to make sure it's all set correctly. Oh, there's the top. It didn't click in. Now it just clicked in. Thought something was fishy with that. And I was right. Let's go now and go over here again. I'm going to stuff a little bit more in there. I know I'm probably overdoing it with this, but I still don't like how it's running. I'm thinking it needs more. Almost feels like this was in a super dry environment and the plastics are drying out on it. I noticed that with the shell, it feels a little brittle, so I'm wondering if that's why it's so squealy when it runs. Okay, so I fixed that. Now I need to put, need to clean my contact railings up if I can find them. Oh, here they are. Are they here? I had the one here. Oh, here. Where is the other one? Oh, it's in here too. Okay, gonna go clean these up now. These 2 railings make contact with the truck itself. I'm going to go in now, put more of this on top here. I'm going to let it dry on. This is going a little bit overboard, admittedly, but I have the extra lubricant. I'm not putting this back in because it's now been contaminated, essentially. So I'm going to go over both sides here and make sure this is nice and clean for conductivity reasons. Going to do the same with this side here. With the trucks on top of the truck connections. Here's the other truck. There it is. I couldn't find it there for a second. There it is. Then I'm going to let this dry for a bit, and then I'm going to go and put everything back together and then try it out. And then actually get it ready for DCC assembly. Okay, it is reassembly time. Yay! Time to put this thing back together. I've been debating this back and forth whether I want to convert this to an RS2 or leave it as an rsc2. But I think I'm going to go with the 2 because it's more common, A and B. I could probably use an RS2 more than I could a C2 because the C2 has issues with taking tight turns and sightings. So I think to make it more practical, I'm just going to make this an RS2 for the time being. I could always change the trucks later on. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give these a quick cleaning. That's for sure. So anyway, I'm going to reuse these trucks. I'm going to go ahead now and just place them in the respective slots before I tighten everything up. Because once you tighten this, you can break these clips off. You need to get them in so they'll hold. Okay. Let us now put these guys in here. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Just putting these washers back in place. If these look familiar, yes, they are used on Atlas engines as well. Because the design, again, is derived from Kato. Let me actually start to put these screws in a little bit. These looks like the other things won't even go in without them. I don't recall them needing to be in that tight, but apparently so. Let's get my screwdriver out here. Just going to do this one, and I'll do the other one again. With my trusty cheap screwdriver from an SSD install kit. Going to now grab another... Oh, it did stay in place. I thought I lost it. Oh, that's interesting. That one I thought fell out, but it didn't. Just going to put it in loosely, and then I'll attach the truck to it. Again, we're going with an RS2. There it is. Oh, the other one fell out. Start tightening this up a little bit more here. So clamp the body together tighter. Now I got to do the same on this side here. I got to clamp this thing together. There we go. Okay, now I've gotten that done. Okay, it's in there. These two guides, if you will, right here on the bottom. Gotta make sure the contact is beneath them so they can have the proper pressure on them to make contact with everything else. Okay, it's all fixed. Now I'm just going to put my tank back on so I don't lose these contacts. And this tank serves a purpose. It keeps these two contact lines in place. Very efficient Japanese design. And there it is. All back together. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands and I'll get the shell ready. I'm going to go wash my hands and then continue to the next part. Okay. And the next step is to convert this for DCC operations. I'm going to use this Digitrax decoder, designed for an rsc2 RS2. It's a DN163K2. Switching to Digitrax after using NCE for a while. Reason being is availability and the fact that also NCE, in addition to their availability problems, has got a ridiculous queue time to get their items through repairs, if I should say through their RMA process, and return to you if you run into a problem. So it's not to my advantage to use them. As you see, Digitrax now ships these differently, wraps them around the foam, and gives you the Kapton tape, although they have it utilized. I never like it when they apply it like this, because now you're going to have to cut it to get it off, because I don't, as you can get it apart here. Opinions vary on this. Some say TCS will tell you need to insulate this motor, but if you see here, there's nothing here to really insulate it from. If you look right in here, this has been insulated with a piece of plastic because this was designed from the factory to be done like this, apparently, or just by accident. I'm not sure if that was delivered, although DCC in 98, when this was coming out, was starting to kick in, so it may have been. There's the piece of tape. This is pretty much going to be useless now that I've taken it off. It's the unfortunate thing about this design. And you have to rip it off like that because you can't get into it without doing so. Just going to put this over here. So now I got it off. And because there is no extension from the headlight, I can probably just get away with slipping it right over here and it should go right in. I wonder what the instructions say for a Kato RS2. Let me just check those briefly before I get this all the way in. So it doesn't actually say you need to actually do any modifications for the Kato RS2. It's just talking about the lifelike. Let me double check. Yep, GP18. It doesn't say a thing about the Kato RS2, so I'm assuming this will just literally drop right in place like I thought. So to get this in is really simple. Just give it a few old turns left on both the front and the back. Don't need it all the way split apart, just about a half an inch or like a hundredth of an inch or so, just to get this thing open enough to make it work. There we go. I just pulled it open manually a little bit. And I now just slip this back on like I had it before. It's a good time to renew the fact that I'm not responsible for any damages you may incur in following my instructions here today, or tonight, or whenever you're watching this. Okay, so now I've got that in. Looks to be right. Let's go now tighten her up. Clockwise turns. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Clamp this in nice and strong. I think she'll work. Well, she better work after all the time I put into this thing. Okay, so decoder's installed. Now let's give this thing a test run. It's going to get plugged in right over here. Oh, let's move the screwdriver. I said I was going to move it. I completely forgot to do it. Plug this in. I haven't activated the DCC. I haven't plugged in my DCC system yet. I'm just connecting the track power for it. Gonna now grab this and put it on the track. There it is. Now we're gonna see if this thing actually works on DCC. So, first step is to take the plug and quite nervously plug this in and hope it doesn't catch fire. I have not been having good luck today, so I'm very concerned. And it's plugged in, and it's lit up, and the light is on. That's a good indicator. Let's now request address number 3. 3, and hit enter, and throttle her up a bit. There it goes. Alrighty then. That sounds a lot better than it did before. That first thing at the speed of death, that's pretty much gone now. It's running much better. Alrighty, so that sounds a million times better. Looks like I managed to pull this off. Not bad. Okay, so now we have this thing all set to go. So our next step is to physically put the shell on this engine and finish the rebuild project on this custom rsc2. Number 81, so I'm going to program it to that. All I need to do now is just pull this right out of here and drop it right on top. See, I told you I wouldn't let this... I told you you'd be seeing this again, or at least I think I did. So let's now just go and just do that. Again, the cab always goes where this big cutout portion is here. So the bolster, I should say, this bulge, I should say. Oh, my light just went out. Let's go now and just punch this right in here. There we go, and it's in place. So now I'm going to quickly program this before my battery completely dies. Ooh, what was that all about? It's heard a very disturbing sound, which I didn't like. Oh, dear. Looks okay. Not sure why that did that. Okay, put it back together again. Oh, it did that again. What is going on here now? There's nothing crossed. I've unplugged it. Okay, I don't know why it would do that. I checked it. It was fine. Power on. Oh, I don't know why it's buzzing. It was fine before. I just hooked this thing in. Now, why would this thing be having a problem now after I've done all this work to it? Oh, that doesn't smell good. Ah! I think I went and jinxed myself. It ran fine just before. No buzz this time. Loco 3, enter. And no power either. That's really disturbing. Oh. What is going on here today? Oh, that's actually another smell of my lubricants. Oh, losing my head today. Why it's not doing this. It should have no problem and just run beautifully now, but it's not doing anything. There it is, lit up. Power on. There it goes. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what the problem was just before. That is weird. So now it's fine again. Let's go now and try this one more time. I don't know what it would be crossing because there's nothing here to cross. Everything else is sealed. It's designed to go right in here from what the instructions have told me. There's nothing to cross over here. Let's try it again. I got her in, snapped in place on the track, and it does it again. So something to do with the shell going down is causing it to make contact. In some way it's not supposed to. I don't know where it could possibly be doing that. I don't know why it would do that either. Oh dear. Look at this. It got caught right here. Oh, come on. There it is. Okay. So again, it's fine now. And I guarantee you, once I put it on the track again. See, now it's fine. There's no short. But I put the lid on and there's a problem.
Note, please don't ask me to justify what I was about to do at this point, because I don't understand why I did it myself.
Ha! Ah! Dag nabbit. And that did just blow smoke. Oh! So I figured the problem. I think I may have saved it. Yep, it works. Still. Okay, so I see what I have to do. So apparently I do need to insulate it. Okay, to ensure no mishaps, because apparently this is the case, I'm going to take some Kapton tape and put it across the two front sections here. As it appears that this thing is going to be very sensitive, so I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to cut this Kapton tape in half that came with the unit. My modeling knife. There we go. I shall now place it right across here where it can make contact, where there is a possibility of making contact. Able to make contact with anything because the Kapton tape will not allow it to. That'll insulate it, and that should fix everything up pretty well. It's kind of loose on one end, but it's enough to stop it from making contact. Okay, let's see if that little bodge I did here fixes everything. There we go. So now, if I put this on the track, it shouldn't smoke. Shouldn't, and it doesn't. Oh, that was a close one. So it does. So as it turns out, you do need to put Kapton tape on the front and back, even if the instructions don't specify it. With these decoders, with the rsc2, even if it doesn't specify it on the Digitrax decoder. Ooh! And it might help if I didn't just run it off the layout and off my board. It's okay. No locomotives were harmed in the production of this video. At least not yet. Okay, now I'm going to program her up. This one is number 81. So let's go ahead and do the program on this one. I'm going to use my main track. So I'm going to go to prog. Main track. Address is 3 currently. Let's go to 81. Actually, you got to skip 3. Now we'll go to 81 on that main programmer. Hit OK. Should jerk. Hopefully it took that. I'm not sure if it did. Let's go loco 81. I might have to cycle the power to make it work. Hopefully I didn't destroy this decoder's ability to read addresses. Loco 3, enter. Okay, so it did program because it's not responding to that. Let's go loco 81. And now nothing. Oh, it's not responding completely. It's completely dead. Nice. Let me unplug my DCC system. Sometimes this thing gets funky. Funky. Get funky. Loco 3. No, it doesn't do anything. Loco 81. It's not taking power anymore. Oh, I see. The decoder must have been knocked loose. So I'm hoping it did. Not it may have actually blown. Oh boy, this thing is not get. This thing is just driving me up the wall today, folks. Oh dear. Come on, get up there, get up. What's it hooked up on now? What's it connected? What's it not? What's not letting this thing come up now? Oh boy, this thing is really driving me nuts today. Finally. Oh, I don't know why the heck this wouldn't let it come off. My God, what was wrong? Okay, after a little fiddling around. Whoa, a little bit too fast for me there. It is working. I don't know what caused that initial short. It doesn't appear the decoder was really affected at all because it is functioning just fine. I was able to reprogram it. Looks like I caught it in time before it did any damage. I did put a piece of Kapton tape in there. The footage got lost, though, but I put a piece of Kapton tape on the long hood. I'm not going to take this apart to show it to you, but on the hood, in fact, I have footage of it. I'll probably just put a piece of that back in here where I put it. By doing that, it stopped it insulated it and prevented it from making contact. I also found out the shell was not properly sealed. There was a piece of plastic overhanging on the decoder that was not letting the actual frames themselves sit close enough. So that was the problem. So once all that was taken care of, as you can see, the engine is now back together. And the once unfixable locomotive is now fixed and ready to go into service. And that's going to do it for this video, as I'm running out of battery power to film here. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Please like and subscribe. And as always, keep the metal side down. Let's get her safe away here. And we go. Mr. Box. Here's Mr. Box. On it goes. There we go. All packed up and safe.